Alright, happy Kwanzaa 2025. I almost said 2026. I am ready for the year to be over. So today's the second day because it's December 27th. So December 26th, Umoja, unity, was the day. And then Kujichagulia is self-determination, which is today. So should I read it through AI or should I read it through an actual website? Let me find an actual Kwanzaa website. Official Kwanzaa website.org. Maybe I'll use that instead. Okay, so I don't know if this is really the official, but it's what it's called. Official Kwanzaa website.org. So Umoja, unity. Let's see. It's probably gonna have, it's got the roots and branches and all that. But let's see. It says it's a product of creative cultural synthesis. That's what it says about Kwanzaa. That is to say, it is the product of critical selection and judicious mixture on several levels. The continental African roots, the African American branch, the first fruits celebration, the origins of Kwanzaa on the African continent are in the agricultural celebrations called the first fruits celebrations, and to a lesser degree, the full or general harvest celebrations. In gathering of people, the value and practice of ingathering of the people is the first and foundational common aspect of African first fruits celebrations, which went into the development of Kwanzaa. Such an ingathering is not only of crops, but also of people. Reverence for their creator and creation. I'm just going to keep scrolling. Commemoration of the past, recommitment to cultural ideals, celebration of the good. I want to read that. So it says the fifth common aspect of African first fruits celebrations, which is contributive to the concept and practice of Kwanzaa, is celebration of the good. The first fruit celebration is a celebration in the various and many senses of the words, i.e. a ritual, a ceremony, a commemoration and observance, a respectful marking, and honoring and praising and rejoicing. Now, unity, it talks about Umoja, unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. I like that. But let's see. So it says the dagi knot, a Pan-African symbol of unity found in several African cultures. Unity is the first and foundational principle of the Guzo Saba. Unity is both a principle and practice of togetherness in all things good and of mutual benefit. So it talks about family unity, talks about intergenerational unity, community unity, Pan-African unity. Let's see. And then Kujichagulia, self-determination to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Ahanwa, the Akan throne symbol of national identity, cultural groundedness, and rightful governance. Commitment and practice. So self-determination, it says it demands that we, as an African people, define, defend, and develop ourselves instead of allowing or encouraging others to do this. Defining identity. Cultural groundedness. Okay, so let me do a little chat about this. I'm still kind of getting my day ready. But I've been up for a few hours, kind of slowly easing into the morning, because I didn't really want to sleep in, but I didn't really want to wake up way early, so I kind of did a combo. But I'm debating if I want any caffeine. I might need a little caffeine. Not really like a necessity, but I think it might help a little. So it's like, Kwanzaa goes from the day after Christmas until after New Year's Eve. So it's usually like December 26th to January 1st. So it's kind of cool because it's like after most of the holidays end, you've got this really positive holiday that comes up that's, it is technically like African American, African centered, kind of Black culture centered, but I do think in a way a lot of people might be able to apply it to their own cultures. They could probably take their own spin on it. Like, it's not, a very old holiday or anything, but I guess my dilemmas as of late when it comes to like things like unity, self-determination, that kind of thing, I'd say unity is a hard one this year in 2025. And I've been trying my best on my end, and at times failing, at times not doing so great with it, but trying my best on my end to not contribute to the chaos, either local chaos or tuning into news or anything like that. Just kind of opting out of different things that I just don't really align with, like if the values aren't really my thing. Like a lot of people have values that are, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of like not aligning with, and kind of in a struggle with, but because it's like all around me, it's kind of hard to avoid things like television or too much internet use, too much social media, news chaos, and like maybe even like social media posting and content creation that's like more on the negative side, which is kind of why I like to deep dive into literature or do my own projects or like exercising or things that I'm like, okay, these are kind of productive. I don't want to do stuff that's not productive. So it helps to have like productive things where I'm like, well, I'm not, contributing to the chaos. Most people I know are pretty good, I think with, I've set some pretty strict boundaries about certain things I do or don't talk about or watch or consume. And people still send me stuff, but, I'm trying not to, really consume it. I guess, I've got a lot of creative friends, and sometimes maybe they want to send me something. And if I see that it's like, not really, not that it's not positive, but something that's like, just, I want to think about things this way. If I were consuming things with a person that's of the culture that I'm watching the content about, so, for a while, for example, there was that, there was some kind of thing about like Haitians or something like that, where people were complaining. And it's like, well, if somebody's creating content and they're sending me negative stuff about Haitians, and I'm thinking, well, if my Haitian friend was sitting right here next to me, would I really be wanting to watch this? Or how would I think about this if I was somewhere, and somebody came up to my Haitian friend and started saying all this negative stuff about Haitians? Of course I'd want to like defend my friend and like try to vouch for my friend because, they're a good person, and I wouldn't want people lumping them into all the prejudices, So I'm trying to kind of think more like that. Like, how can I go about not lumping all the, like trying to personalize it a little bit more when I'm seeing content that's about people that aren't, like, I'm not Haitian, I'm not Latino, I'm not, there's a lot of things that I'm not. But there's a lot of content that's out there that's like anti all types of people, anti-Trump supporters, anti-Democrats, anti everything. Everybody's hating on each other. I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to be in that category of people, because I don't hate my friends or family members. So for me, that's kind of where unity is coming in. And I guess self-determination, in a way, that's kind of where that comes up for me, is like a version, I guess, of speaking for myself. Creating my own my own world, my own definitions of how I want to live my days, what I want to do with my time, things that I see where I'm like, sometimes I'm up at the crack of dawn, and then now that I'm back on Instagram, I'm noticing I'm on there a little longer. And it's kind of an interesting app because you can see who's been on there recently. And sometimes I'm up early and I'm like, oh, everyone must be asleep. I'm like, no, this other person was online 36 minutes ago. That means they were up at 5:30 on Instagram. Or if I'm up at 5:30 and I'm like, oh, this person was online like 15 minutes ago. It's like they're up at 5:15 on Instagram. Or it's like late at night, you know? And, just trying to like force the self-control. I've been doing it with my food choices, with my exercise choices, and also with my just media consumption. Like, just trying to be a little more intentional about what I'm watching. Like today, I was on Instagram this morning, and I was like, I saw something about KTLA News, and I saw you can click off to say that you don't want any more, content showing up from KTLA News. I'm probably gonna have to go through and like figure out a bunch of content that I don't want to be hearing from. But it was raining here in Southern California, so of course with rain, the roads get a little messed up and flooded in places, and of course that's become like the new like viral. Like, I had a friend in another city, they're out of town, and they were hitting me up asking me like, what's going on, like, is LA flooded? And I'm like, no, it's not flooded. Like, it's just the news, and it's news in other states that are like talking about other stuff. And I mean, it's not that there's no flooding. Like, whenever it rains out here for more than a day, like, things start falling apart. That's just how it is. Mudslides, flooding, backed up water, overrun water, problems with pipes, problems with, plumbing. Some people say, there's different bugs that come and stuff. But I don't know, like, I don't really want to make negative contributions. And even if it is just between friends, I'm trying to figure out, how to kind of practice like unity and self-determination when, the first thing out of most people's mouths, everybody wants to talk about Trump. I don't want to talk about Trump. I don't want to talk about anything related to that. But I fall down the rabbit hole too, with all that kind of stuff. I try not to, but mostly it's because it gets recommended to me, or I have friends that are like making stuff and sending it, even if I don't want to see the stuff that they're sending. But I've just decided, I'll kindly decline to consume things, even if it's from someone I care about. If they're making stuff that's negative about other people I care about, or the cultures of other people I care about, then I'm probably not going to tune in. I mean, it's kind of hard to fully avoid, because like, I like comedy and like different things, but I feel like the difference between comedy is like, comedy's kind of like, in a way, kind of thought-provoking, because it kind of gives you an emotional response to something. It lets you have an emotional response to something that maybe in a different tone or a different setting you might not even be interested in like acknowledging or like thinking about those topics, but it's easier to digest through comedy. So I do feel like it does serve a purpose, but I don't know, I'm kind of trying to figure out more. I don't want to do too much or have like a, I don't want to distance myself. I guess that's what, I've always been a person that wants to, have like unity in my life, or, I'm always trying to like bring people together and be like, oh, it would be fun if all these guys met. They'd probably all get along and we could all go have fun. That's kind of more my style. I'm not usually like, oh, this person's from that culture, so, because society is kind of picking on them now, like, I need to think negatively because everybody else is. It's like, no, I've known this person for like 20 years, and we've been good, so why am I going to listen to all this other nonsense? But, and I guess one thing I was noticing recently is before I guess with the self-determination, before I was a little more on the independent side, work in the working field and everything, when I was in like maybe college, high school, I used to think about, okay, what's it gonna be like when I have my own income, or what are my jobs gonna be, how am I gonna spend my time? And honestly, all I could think about was like the creative potential of like, I'm gonna be affording all this software so I can write music, and affording all these instruments, and being able to like go to all these types of things and places and travel and events. And I'm kind of looking more at like how much time I spend just consuming online. And I'm trying to be a lot more aware of, where my time goes, and, there's a challenge in it all. And, I'm trying to just figure that out, like where my energy goes, where my time goes. I do notice, okay, if it's a rainy day and you're inside just like lounging around online, like whatever. But sometimes I'm like, I could have been working on some music, or I could have been doing something else, and all I did was like watch YouTube for like 4 hours. You know what I mean? Like a lot of my days, sometimes I'm like, I have nothing to show for, and so I have to keep making projects so that I'm at least like tracking very well, like what I'm doing, what I'm starting, what I'm finishing, which, that's why it helps to kind of post podcast wise, because I'm like, well, I did say I was going to do this, but yeah, it's really hard to, I guess with self-determination, I would say self-discipline, when it comes to that, like where it talks about developing ourselves instead of allowing or encouraging others to do this. Let's see. Yeah, so let me read this. It says, this too expresses itself as both commitment and practice. It demands that we as an African people define, defend, and develop ourselves instead of allowing others, instead of allowing or encouraging others to do this. It requires that we recover lost memory and once again shape our world in our own image and interest. And it is a call to recover and speak our own special cultural truth to the world and make our own unique contribution to the forward flow of human history. And, yeah. So, yeah, I guess for me, that's the part that sticks out, is the part about shaping our world in our own interest, you know? Like, I don't want to shape my world based on mainstream media's opinions of how I should be, or what I should be concerned about, or what I should be thinking about, or what should be on my mind, or where I should be going down rabbit holes. I want to do that on my own. Because I've pretty much had the same interests for most of my life, you know. I'd say this year in 2025, martial arts was the one thing I dove into more this year than probably any other year of actually, like, practicing anything. I've probably learned the most this year, even though I've been into it for, like, since childhood. And then, yeah, like, musically, I don't really know, but some of the tech stuff too, like tech learning and practicing stuff like that, I've learned a lot too. More recently, but it's still in this year. And a lot of these things, you know, it hasn't been since like, it's been since like maybe August that I've been really working on things a lot harder. So it's not like it was like the whole year of 2025 I was doing all this stuff. It kind of hit me like near my birthday. I was like, I kind of want to, you know, when I'm looking at the past year, you know, I was looking at some of the stuff that maybe I wished I would have maybe put more energy into. And so near my birthday, I was like, okay, it's, you know, a new year for me as far as like a new age for myself. So, you know, it was a good time to start. Like, I don't always want to wait till New Year's Eve. I'm not really like that so much, but no. Sorry I'm talking so quiet. There's people up that are like walking all over the place, but I think that's good as far as like the topics: unity, self-determination. That's kind of where I stand with most of it right now. Just been trying to reel it in and kind of adjust my life to look more like it's aligned, you know, aligning things with my values more. And, you know, in the last maybe month, I've been trying to focus a little more on when I'm negative about something. Like, slow down, tune into it, and try to see kind of like, how am I really taking this? Why am I looking at it this way? Is there something I'm missing? Is it just my brain that's warning me to feel worried or feel anxious or feel negative about something? Or do I really have like a valid reason? Is it, you know, like, where's it coming from? So, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to do that on my own, but yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I would say, first 2 days of Kwanzaa, that's kind of where I'm starting. Trying to take more reflective time. I do tend to kind of separate my days a lot near sundown. It doesn't matter what day of the week, but near sundown, maybe light a little incense, reflect for a second, and just kind of sit with things. Try not to be too heavily online, Try to practice with music and, stuff that could be fun, Have a good time, have a fun time. Try to create more than I consume, or even if it's brainstorming about things. I don't know how to say this, but I still just want to urge people to just be careful, I'm starting to see the world in a strange way sometimes, because I'm like, every time I step back, when I'm like out of the mix of it all, and I step back for even like a couple days and just tune out and just sit with my thoughts, or just like, see, like, I've gone to universities, I get an alumni magazine, maybe I'll look through that, just go to the bookstore, walk around town, look at physical stuff in person, even if it is new, but it's like, literature, or like what's going on in the city, where I live, like if there's some kind of like events, flyers, stuff like that. A lot of times when you go around to different types of like ethnic markets or different cultural spaces, they might have like I know dispensaries have like different kind of magazines you can pick up, or like, I don't know, skate shops, surf shops. I know Sushi Boy, or some of the Japanese markets even, have like their little news magazines that have, stuff in it that a lot of times it's not in English, but, I'll pick them up, take them home, see what's in it. It shows a lot of good restaurants. It shows a lot of good events, new speakers, artists, musicians. Or, if you like, just picking up stuff and just reading that instead of just Instagram and all that, like, see what else is going on. Get the information from another angle. And I've been trying that. It's kind of cool. Of course it outdates fast, so it's like you got to keep getting them. It's not like Instagram, how it's gonna every day tell you like there's a club over here, bar over here, live event over here, yoga in the park over here, But looking on meetups, or like looking elsewhere, to try to find events or like community kind of like stuff to do, it's pretty chill. Like, I live in the South Bay area of LA. There's plenty going on. It's not like other LA areas, but it's still very, very, lively. And there's a lot of parks, a lot of beach, a lot of nature, a lot of cultural foods, there's events that I didn't even know happened until they were over. Like, I think there was this like Pakistani Independence Day event that I totally missed. There were a few events that I missed, and I'm like, yeah, like, it's good to kind of tune in. But yeah, trying to tune in with my city on another level, and not just, because I live in LA County. It's like everything that we're told about this place is crazy, but I'm just trying to have fun still and not be oblivious or ignorant, but just making sure I'm taking care of myself and not letting mainstream media kind of like dictate to me how I need to feel. You need to take all this medicine because these commercials say that you have all these problems. Like maybe you need to eat some apples sometimes and like go to the gym and get on the treadmill. Like maybe that's what I need. Maybe I don't actually, I'm not trying to say that people don't need medicine, but for other things, it's like sometimes a dietary change can fix a lot of stuff too. And, taking time to learn about it, like, for example, people say they get dry eyes. I don't know anything about dry eyes, so I'm not really one to speak on this, but say if that's the only issue. Like, I'm just curious to know, is there not a natural way to kind of get to a solution? I know that there's like eye drops, but then it's like, okay, do you really need like a pill that's gonna have like side effects of diarrhea and constipation and nausea and headaches? And it's like, you got all those problems just because you have dry eyes? Like, there's got to be a reason why you're getting dry eyes, so I don't really know, but I don't know, like, and trying to find free events, stuff to do with friends. I don't know. I don't know, I don't really, I can't really tell someone what to do with, like, their choices with medicine. I'm just saying, like, a lot of times, a lot of people wouldn't even think to ask a doctor for medications about certain things. And I feel like maybe sometimes it's like, well, what can I change in my lifestyle if that's an option? All the problems I had, none of my doctors were recommending anything about lifestyle changes. I was the one who went out of my way, who, when I saw that I had A1C level issues, I asked for a nutritionist, and then they put me in a class, and then I went from that class and did some other stuff, and like I've been learning ever since. And now I'm on my third year. The Friday before Thanksgiving is the start of a new fitness year for me. So this is the start of year 3 for me. But it's been a lot of time. And there's some fitness influencers that I follow, and I'm noticing a lot of them, they've been working on stuff for years. Like, I know we're kind of taught like the 30-day, the 60-day with like P90X or something like that, 90 days, or 75 hard is 75 days, or insanity. I think they were like 30-day insanity workouts, and those are good. I'm not saying they're bad. They're good to mix things up, but if someone's just gonna do that for 30 days and then never do any other thing before or after, it's like, you'll probably get results and then go back. And I've had a lot of that yo-yoing myself, where it's like I get results, I go back, I get results, I go back. And there's a lot of like tracking, reflecting, adjusting, and like doing that over and over. I finally hit a method very recently where, I've noticed if my breakfasts are a little bit lighter, then I can still eat the same amount my other meals and be fine, because I was going way over on calories, and my breakfasts don't need to be as huge as they usually are. So I'm trying to have one lighter meal a day. Like, I was trying to have like one vegetable plate or salad plate, but I felt like it wasn't hearty enough sometimes to keep me full long enough. And so what I've been doing is maybe adding more snacks, but one smaller meal. Like, I'm still eating 3 meals a day, but then I'm probably snacking another time. So it's basically almost 2 small meals, and then two regular size meals, pretty much. Or like 1 small meal, 1 snack, into regular size meals. It's more like that. It's not really like 2 small meals, but I'm able to like adjust to it, and I'm getting good results. So with all the working out and everything I was doing too, like, my back pain has improved, and also I've had improvements in other areas too. So but a lot of it's like learning, and realizing that a lot of times, our society kind of tries to create like a shortcut, and it's like there really is no shortcut to like a lifestyle. It's all the day-to-day choices kind of add up, and the output of what's being consumed, the output quality is based on kind of what's consumed. Not always. I'm not like in a blaming the victim mentality. People have real issues, real problems, that it doesn't matter what they eat or what they're doing with their workouts, with some chronic issues and stuff. Of course, and some mental and pervasive mental illness and stuff like that. Of course, like, yeah, if you eat an extra banana or whatever, it's not going to make the psychosis go away. But like, I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about like the basic stuff. But yeah, I mean, chronic issues, I have a theory that a lot of it's rooted in trauma. I guess the reason I would say that is because I worked with so many people in mental health, and a lot of people with certain mental health diagnoses, I definitely noticed there was somewhat of a pattern with some of the chronic pain diagnoses. And I didn't research it or anything, but just after working with so many people, I'm like, how come a lot of people with this have this, but we weren't really serving them for the physical health, but we would still need to know kind of what they were getting treated for. And yeah, it was all interesting, but I'm trying not to be too afraid to like adjust things when I'm realizing they don't work. Just make an adjustment when it's not working. 'Cause sometimes things aren't working, and I've got to be real about it. That like, sometimes I'm like, this isn't working. But yeah. But that's about it. Kwanzaa Day 1, Kwanzaa Day 2, unity, self-determination. That's kind of how I'm looking at it for myself. This is all my own personal opinion. I'd say, it might help people to do kind of their own reflection and see kind of, maybe you resonate with what I'm saying. Maybe for you, it's like a whole other thing. that would be a helpful mindset. But these are my own kind of explanations of what's important to me lately with some of the stuff I'm working on, working through, working with, adjusting. There's some other stuff too that obviously I'm not gonna like post on the internet, but it's like I'm trying to like learn and figure out certain other stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you're not feeling well, you know, that sucks. You know, I go through times where I'm not feeling well, and you know, maybe see if there's something you could adjust. You know, don't be afraid to try stuff. Like, I say this whenever I'm like fixing something or whatever, or taking something apart and trying to DIY, you know, fix something or make something, where I'm like, I can't afford the repairs, I can't afford a new one, but I can afford the parts. So why not try to learn? If it's already not working and I already can't fix it, you know, in a way that I can like easily pay for, what's it gonna hurt to try to learn a skill to try to fix something? And of course sometimes I don't fix it, but then other times I might. So like sometimes I notice with things that have pain attached to them, it's like, and I noticed this maybe last year, I don't remember when, but not that long ago, maybe a couple years ago, where I was like, you know, it hurts either way. You know, if you're living in a toxic environment with people, because like, for example, living in a toxic environment or just a household with so many unhealthy people in it, you know, and their lifestyles were like rubbing off on me, but then I get to live near all my friends, and yeah, I get to live near all my friends and have a job site where I'm comfortable at the site itself, you know, with serving a purpose. You know, it's like, it's gonna be painful to live with these people because they're getting on my last nerve, but then moving is gonna cost more. That's gonna be painful. I won't be able to go out as much because I'll be paying way more for rent, like an extra $1,000 for rent or more, probably more than that even. And not really get to do all the other stuff that I enjoy doing as much, maybe, or at least not in the same way, like Uber around late night and doing all this other kind of stuff. Like, maybe I'll have to ride the trolley, you know, maybe I can't afford an Uber. But yeah, like, just seeing it like that, I'm trying to like adjust things for myself like that, you know. And yeah, she's yeah, so I think, you know, those are kind of some nuggets I learned, where I'm like, you know, if I'm not feeling well and I really don't maybe need the rest, but I'm like, I don't want to get up, I just want to lay here. But then if I just lay here, I don't feel good. But then if I don't know. If I just lay here, I don't feel good. But then, say if I get up and go to the gym, I'm probably gonna be, just going through the motions and grumpy and grouchy. But I'm like, at the end of the day, if it's like, okay, light some incense at the end of the day, kind of reflect on the day as the sun is setting. How am I feeling like I did today? Am I gonna be more, enthused because I laid around all day long and binge watched who knows what? Or am I gonna be more enthused that even though I wasn't feeling good, and I mean to some extent, of course, obviously if you're not feeling well, rest, but I'm talking about like when it's just like low motivation or something like that, and it's like you're not necessarily enjoying just laying there, but you're not enjoying the idea of anything that you could do that's more productive. Sometimes it's like, go do the thing that's less productive then, or more productive, and still not be happy about it. If you're not going to be happy about it either way, you might as well go through the motions. At least you'll feel better about having done that, and it gets you a little more momentum toward the next day sometimes. But not every day is going to feel good. Not every day is going to be easy. You kind of got to know yourself enough to kind of like know when to take the breaks and know when the break is actually over and I'm just being lazy, or maybe I'm depressed, or maybe I'm, having some weird energy dip for whatever reason. Just kind of knowing where it comes from and trying to become aware. Tracking helps. I mean, don't sleep on tracking. If anything, even if you're not going to do the things that are your goals, I would recommend tracking them, because you'll get to know what your mindset is very well when you start tracking. Like, I did this before I was interested in actually working on my finances. When I started learning about finances, I was like, well, I want to make this budget. I want to stick to the budget. So I started making this journal about budgeting, and every time I went over the budget, kind of what my mindset was, the rationale behind why I went and got fast food instead of cooking food that I had at home, why I went and, spent on this extra thing that I didn't really need, or went and got this app that cost more money for a subscription that wasn't even a necessity for anything important, and I just wanted it. That kind of stuff. And, trying to just make sure that kind of stuff is getting managed, that I'm kind of aware of what I'm doing, even if I'm not going to do it. And the process of tracking it and having to write down all the decisions that I made that weren't aligned with the goal I was trying to reach, eventually I was like, well, I don't want to keep writing this stupid journal of failure, basically, of every time I don't even do something that I'm not even ready to work on. But I started realizing, I'm like, okay, well, every time, I start wanting to buy this. Like, why do I want that? All the time, this time of month, why do I want that thing? Or how come whenever I get a paycheck, this is the first thing I do with it? And I had this whole, it was multiple months, multiple months of tracking, that I had all this data to work with. And at least I went from something of being like, why can't I ever stick to a budget, to now I have a whole book of honesty to myself of dates of all the times I did not stick to something that I said I was trying to, and why I did not. Like the reasoning behind it. And I could go back through that, and maybe there's like 3-4 reasons. It's not like there's like 100 reasons. There's usually like 3-4 categories, 2-3 categories. With most issues, I would say, most maybe problematic patterns, I would say there's like 2 or 3 issues. And I'm kind of recognizing that with almost anything where it's like a goal that a person wants to reach and they're not really getting there, there's really not that many reasons why. It's just there's 2 or 3 things that need to be adjusted throughout the process of trying that makes it reasons why somebody's not actually taking the steps they need, either with the consistency of it and the frequency of it, or the intensity of it while you're working on it. Like I said, I can go to the gym, I could sit on one of the bikes and not put high resistance and just sit there and like watch YouTube. But that's more effort than laying on my bed watching YouTube. But it's still maybe without the resistance, or without like tracking if I'm doing like high intensity intervals, or like trying to see if I'm like getting faster or better or stronger. And I'm not tracking that. I'm just tracking, oh, did I spend 30 minutes sitting here moving my feet like this? You know, you kind of got to figure out, once you get to that point, okay, I'm at the point where I'm going through the motions, but of course I'm not going to really get that much results doing that. I need to kind of actually focus on all these other aspects, and then slowly like incorporating those so you can kind of get comfortable. And yeah, some things aren't going to be like a quick, like 30 days, you're going to do it. I mean, the people who see those results doing the 30-day things are the people who go intense for 30 days. And yeah, you can change your life doing that too. It's definitely a good start, but a lot of it's going to be consistency, you know, of how much you do stuff. And, you know, and your body's going to be adjusting to it, and it's eventually going to become your lifestyle, you know. Like, there's certain stuff I just don't buy. Like, I don't buy sodas, really. I don't really have them in the house. I don't really buy soda for myself. I used to. I don't anymore. There's just stuff that I stopped buying. It's like, okay, McDonald's, why not just go to Chick-fil-A? Why not just go to In-N-Out? They're better sandwiches. They're actually, McDonald's and Chick-fil-A almost cost the same amount of money. And Chick-fil-A is probably way healthier for you. I mean, I don't know, people have a moral issue with them, but yeah, like just making those substitutions, because it's going to be uncomfortable either way. Whether or not you're working on your goals, you're going to be uncomfortable with not having the goals reached, or with being in the same spot and having to struggle with the frustration and stress of like having to create a new kind of consistency until you can get the results. Like, it's not all super easy. I know it's not all super easy, but it's also not impossible. Because that's what I would say. If you're having trouble doing something that you really want to do, I'd say the first step is just tracking it. Just doing the tracking part, because that's going to be uncomfortable in and of itself. And you're probably going to realize, well, I'm spending so much energy tracking it, I might as well just be doing it instead of journaling all the time. You know, it's like I could have put 3 months into doing it instead of 3 months into journaling. But think about it for your own selves, guys. Unity and self-determination.